And now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the conversation around the development pipeline. So I know that it's been a priority for Chair Harris, as it is for the board and for the department, to provide an analysis of approved projects on our development pipeline. Also, County Council members had many questions about the pipeline when we were talking with them about the local housing targets effort. So I'm happy to report that we have started our work on this effort, and I wanted to provide the board an overview of the development pipeline and what this effort will entail. First, you can check out the pipeline by going to montgomeryplanning.org/pipeline, where you can access a map and reports with pipeline data. This has information as current as last month, January 2025. Excuse me. Next, I wanted to provide the basics of the development pipeline. So the concept of the pipeline originated in the late 1970s as a tool that helped implement our adequate public facilities ordinance. It was more relevant at the time when we had moratoria that stopped new projects from going forward because of old projects that had not been built and were tying up capacity. But the current GIP and other policies that we have in the county don't really create that same situation today. Nevertheless, the pipeline is an important planning tool to understand potential development patterns and the development market generally. The pipeline is an inventory of unbuilt units and commercial space in development projects approved by the Planning Board. I would note that when the board approves a sketch plan, the project does not yet get added to the pipeline. The pipeline consists of projects that have received their subdivision or preliminary plan approval. So some of the projects on the pipeline have not yet completed a site plan review that may be required. So the pipeline, and this is an important thing, and this is talked about in the blog post, the pipeline is not a guarantee of future housing units. When we were working on the local housing targets effort last year, we found that over a 6-year period, you may recall this, only about 50% of the housing units that were on the pipeline at the start of that 6-year period had actually come to fruition as units that had been built. Once a project pulls a building permit for a unit, then that unit comes off of the pipeline. So the pipeline is always in a state of flux. As new projects are added, the number goes up as projects are approved, and as projects have their validity period expire, the number comes down, or as units are built or building permits are pulled, the numbers come down. So the current pipeline includes just under 30,000 unbuilt units, 29,454 unbuilt units across 278 projects. And that is in the part of the county that we have jurisdiction over, so not the independent municipalities.
And that is commercial and residential?
So the 29,000 units, that's residential units, and those there are more projects in the pipeline. That's 278 of those projects are ones that have the residential units.
Oh, okay. So this information is just for residential.
Yes.
So I understand that it doesn't mean that it's being built, but do we have any kind of follow-up to see why they're not built? Just
that's the effort that I'm about to tell you about. Yes, it's a really important question, and one that we think, as we try to move forward with efforts to stimulate or housing production, that it behooves us to understand better why projects on the pipeline are not moving forward. Yeah. So of those 29,454 unbuilt units, 89% of them are in the form of large multifamily rental buildings. While this housing is important, it does not help us meet the current and future need for diversity of housing options in the county, including ownership opportunities that we talked about through efforts like attainable housing strategies. And as you know, once the board approves the projects, it's up to developers to actually build them. So we hope to find some of the reasons, to get to the Vice Chair's question, we hope to understand some of the reasons that they may not be doing so, whether it's economics, property ownership issues, county policies, whatever it may be, and to see if there are differences based on geography or based on even the housing type in the approval. And we hope that the knowledge that we gain from this effort can help inform policies that can help increase housing production off the pipeline. So here just this gives you a kind of a high-level summary based on how long some projects have been on and how many units have been on the pipeline for different lengths of time. You can see the largest share of unbuilt units today were ones that were approved 10 to 5 years ago between 2016 and 2020. Nearly 13,000 unbuilt units in 68 projects all across the county here. But you can see how it's broken down by most recently approved to some that are quite old. You can also see kind of in the map based on the size of the dot, the circles, where we have units based on, again, when they were approved. And you generally see that this is mostly in the inner suburbs, inside the Beltway, the North Bethesda area, and then up 270. But you still see small circles with approvals that are kind of spread throughout the county.
Can I ask another question? This
Sure.
includes also the senior living? Senior housing, because we are, so that's part of this?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's good. You know, one of the things that we can look at and see if there's a distinction between projects that are moving forward or, you know, in trying to understand the reason why projects are not moving off the pipeline, that, you know, I mentioned seeing if there's a difference based on the type of housing product. We can also look at it based on senior housing versus not.
And also rental versus ownership, that is a difference also, yeah.
So we did take a look at what are the largest, this is just to give you some ideas, some examples of projects that are in the pipeline, and I'm not going to elaborate, and I can't really, I don't have the information to elaborate in great detail on each of these projects, but to say that, you know, part of our effort will be to take a look at projects like these and to gain a better understanding of what they need to be able to move forward or if they ever intend to move forward even. So these are the largest projects built in each of those same 4 time periods that you saw on the last page, last slide. And so 8676 Georgia Avenue was approved in 2024 by you all. That includes 525 units. And obviously is still on the pipeline.
When you say approved, is the site plan?
This is, well, not necessarily.
Or a sketch plan? What?
Not sketch plan. So
Okay.
preliminary plan, the subdivision plan approval.
Okay, so any of them that is approved is in here?
Anything
Except
that-
the sketch plan?
Right. If it only has sketch plan, it's not on the pipeline yet.
Okay.
From 2016 to 2020, you see Westfield Montgomery Mall. That's the largest one there, 717 unbuilt units. Mid-Pike Plaza, that's actually Pike and Rose, still has some remaining unbuilt units there. And you can see with each of these when their validity period expires. And so probably one of the most interesting ones on here is the one at the bottom, Friendship Commons, which is the Geico site. It's interesting from a number of perspectives. First, you see that the expiration there is next year, but also this is part of the scope, the geographic scope of our Friendship Heights sector plan update that you approved last week. So this will be something that we certainly will be looking at as part of that effort. Also, earlier today, Geico announced that they are moving their headquarters to downtown Bethesda. So we're happy that we get to continue to keep Geico as a home here in Montgomery County. They'll be moving to the Wilson in downtown Bethesda, which again opens up opportunities for kind of interesting discussion around that site as we move forward.
Director Sartori, on this slide where it shows 525 unbuilt units and 717 unbuilt units, et cetera, were there units delivered or not delivered? And if they were delivered, why weren't they included on this? Thanks.
Sure. So that's, would be a question that would be, it might be, the answer might be different for each of these. So I would suspect that that 8676, I'm assuming that that is all still, that's the entire project there, 525 units. But the Mid-Pike Plaza, this is the 740. I don't know all of the details, and if someone feels they want to come forward and explain that, but I would imagine that that is the unbuilt portion of a much larger approval that had more units in it.
So there was delivery, they're just not
Yes,
built right
yeah.
now.
And the pipeline includes that. So, you know, you might have a project that's approved for 500 units and it's built in phases. And so sometimes even the timing of the validity period might be based on how complex or how large a project might be. And so projects that, you know, a project for 500 units might have had 200 that are already built. Now what's on the pipeline are only 300 units.
Carrie Sanders for the record, Mid-County Planning. So for the Mid-Pike Plaza example, there has been delivery of residential for, obviously for Pike and Rose. So this is just the last sort of delivery that hasn't happened yet. Those larger projects we tend to see in Mid-County where they're phased, and they actually have validity periods by phase. So this is an example of that.
And we'll be, you know, again, kind of drilling down, trying to get answers to questions of, you know, what timeline do you have for delivering that next set of units, or, you know, what's holding this up? So there are kind of two primary components to this effort. And the first will be kind of a data analysis, a review of the pipeline data. Trying to, that's going to be led by our Countywide Planning and Policy Division. They estimate that it's going to take 3 to 6 months. They said 3 months. I said, let's be a little more conservative with this and go with the longer time period just to allow us to work on a lot of the other things that we're working on too. But to try to identify issues, develop solutions, some ideas around that, and see how we report the data out. Then our research team will be coordinating a questionnaire that will be going out to the property owners and also conducting interviews with the developers so that we can get a deeper insight as to, you know, the status of their projects. But collectively, this is a combined project across the Countywide Planning, our GIS team and ITI division, and the Research and Strategic Projects division.